shortly Khalji's slave Khusro Khan killed him. And the same Ghazi Malik took the identity of Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq and ascended the throne. The city of Tughlaqabad arose in this ocean of cities like a perishable bubble and soon disappeared. Admittedly, at this time, there were two rulers of Delhi, one who ruled over the land and the other who ruled the hearts, Mehboob-e-Ilahi, Sultan-ul-Mashriq, Dastagir-e-Do-Jahan, the Sufi Sheikh Nizamuddin Aulia. Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq began constructing his dream city of Tughlaqabad in an area of 6.5 miles, while far away from the city, Nizamuddin Aulia began to build a humble inn for the travelers. In order to build the city, Tughlaq ordered the removal of labor from working at the rest house. The labor, filled with love and respect for Aulia, decided to work for him at night. In retaliation, Tughlaq stopped the supply of oil for lighting the lamps. Prayers have power. Hazrat Nizamuddin used water instead of oil to light the lamps and cursed Tughlaq. Except for jackals and nomads, no one will ever stay in this city built by you. This is what Aulia had prophesied when Ghiyasuddin started to return after waging a war with the Mongols in Bengal. He found that Delhi was indeed far away. His son Muhammad Tughlaq, in honor of his arrival, erected a huge wooden pavilion. The structure fell on him like the cursed arm of time and crushed him to death. His tomb faces Tughlaqabad. At one time, there was a lake here, and a bridge connected it to Tughlaqabad. Now is a road that joins Mehrauli to the village of Badarpur.
Whether you believe the curse of Aulia to be true or just a tall fantasy, the fact is that a dream city built on a war footing was reduced to ruins in merely 15 years. And even after 600 springs, millions celebrate at the mausoleum of Nizamuddin Aulia.
मोरे ख्वाजा जी मोरे ख्वाजा जी ओ निजामुद्दीन औलिया ओ निजामुद्दीन औलिया बलिहारी निजाम तोरी सूरत के बलिहारी सूरत के बलिहारी निजाम तोरी सूरत के बलिहारी निजामुद्दीन औलिया, निजामुद्दीन औलिया।
The Sultan who left Delhi to make Daulatabad his seat of rule was Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He was his own persona. Call him eccentric or a philosopher. But the ideas he experimented were original and way ahead of his times. He once raised the taxes so high in the Ganga-Jamna plains that the farmers set their fields on fire and went into hiding in the forests. He then lured them back by giving loans from the royal treasury. Another time, he discontinued gold and silver coins and introduced copper coinage. Every household turned into a mint. International trade suffered. Finally, he issued a diktat to retrieve all the coins. The Moroccan traveller Ibn Battuta arrived in Tughlaq's court in 1334 and stayed on for 8 years. In his memoirs, he has written extensively of his time there. Tughlaq, however, could not find water in Daulatabad and began missing Delhi. He returned and established the city of Jahanpana. This city, spread from Siri to Qutb, was the biggest till now. Now, 3 interconnected cities existed: Jahanpana, the smaller Qutb, and the smallest, Siri. Neither the city nor the palace have survived. The scattered pages of this story are found in and around Begumpur, Haus Khas, Uday Park, Panchsheel Enclave, and Shahpur Jat. These places stand on the very land of Jahanpana. Every fan of cricket knows of the Firoz Shah Kotla grounds. The 6th city of time in which it is located was Firozabad, and the king who built it was Firoz Shah Tughlaq, the son of Muhammad Tughlaq's cousin Rajab and his Rajput wife from Dipalpur. He was so fond of architectural design and construction that he is often compared with Augustus Caesar. Far from the hills of Aravalli, on the banks of the river Yamuna, a huge city was built. 18 villages formed the basis of this city. It had 30 palaces, 200 rest houses, 4 hospitals, 10 hammams, 150 wells, and 1200 gardens. This city spread itself over 5 miles from Kotla to Shikar Mahal. Shikar Mahal was where Hindu Rao Hospital stands today. Two Ashokan pillars were brought from the faraway cities of Ambala and Meerut. One was placed in the royal palace and the other in the Shikar Mahal. Public libraries, observatories for the study of stars, and the sundial for telling the time were erected. Mosques were built. Though you may not hear the call of Muezzin today, these have stood the test of time and can be seen in Khirki and Begumpur. Firoz Shah Tughlaq was a soft-hearted ruler. He reduced the tax of jizya levied on the Brahmins and got their texts translated into Persian. In 1368, when lightning struck the Qutub Minar, he had the top 2 minarets built again.
How very beautiful this city is. The pride of Delhi beneath the 7 magnificent skies. Ill-fated again, however, for it too will be destroyed.
It is a cold December night. The only thing that warms it is the fresh blood flowing on the streets. For 3 days and 3 nights, I witnessed Delhi's bloodbath. Decimated bodies, plundered bazaars, frightened eyes that peeped through the crevices of closed doors, as though waiting for somebody to leave. On December 1398, when Taimur Lung left Delhi, his sword was stained with blood of countless lives, and my heart with scars that would never heal. Taimur rose like a storm from the mountains of Hindu Kush and attacked Delhi. The excuse was that the Delhi Sultanate was too soft-hearted towards their Hindu subjects, but the real intent was plunder. The flat grounds on which he set camp was what is now the Safdarjung airport, and where the battle ensued, the people plying on that Aurobindo Marg cannot begin to imagine the gruesome scenes that I witnessed. Nasiruddin Mahmud Tughlaq used his soldiers, horses and elephants to combat Taimur. Elephants' tusks were laced with poison. In turn, Taimur placed haystacks on the backs of his camels and set them on fire. The scared camels ran towards the elephants, and the elephants ran amok onto their own army. In the midst of this chaos, Taimur proclaimed victory. Then followed the killings. Delhi was uprooted, and with it was uprooted the rule and dynasty of the Tughlaqs. Delhi was no longer the loved one. The Sayyids came by and then the Lodhis. A few mosques were built and some mausoleums, but the fervor of love was not the same as before. After a long wait of 130 years, which seemed endless, in 1526, the son of Sikandar Lodhi Ibrahim faced Babur, the descendant of Taimur, in the Battle of Panipat. Bullets flew and cannons roared to usher in the reign of the Mughals.